Welcome to Entrepreneurs, Executives, and Eccentrics, a podcast dedicated to the stories, strategies, and secrets of remarkable individuals. Join us as we engage in enlightening conversations with intriguing entrepreneurs, accomplished executives, and fascinating eccentrics, exploring their journeys, triumphs, and the unconventional wisdom that has shaped their success. In this episode, we talk with Jackie Garrett, founder and CEO of Vilah Bloom, a customizable handbag and accessory brand. Jackie shares how a kitchen table solution for busy parents grew into a retail business with national reach. We discuss manufacturing, hiring, product development, and the realities of scaling a company. She also reflects on the challenges and lessons that helped shape her path as an entrepreneur.
Hello, Jackie. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Scott. Well, first, thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be on your show today. My name is Jackie Garrett, and I am the founder, designer, and CEO of Vilah Bloom. We are a customizable handbag and accessory brand, originally known for our patented diaper bags that dispense wet wipes. The story began about 15 years ago. I kept forgetting my wet wipes as a new mom, and I jokingly said to my husband, why aren't these things just attached to bags for moms with pregnancy brain? And what first was a joke became kind of a seed of an idea for the company that we ended up creating. I literally, like 2 weeks later, sat down on my kitchen table and started making a diaper bag that dispensed wipe for my own use, and very quickly found out that like my girlfriends wanted one, their friends wanted one, and then all of a sudden we were getting orders for these things, and I was like, is this a company? So
Right.
yeah, so that's how it started, and we took it to, yeah.
So when you're at your dining room table, you think you're like, my God, wasn't this everywhere? I mean, what do you do? Are you literally sewing leather? Like, how are you doing that prototype exactly? That proof
Yes.
of concept, how is that being done?
You want to know? Okay, so I actually took a placemat, no joke, like a placemat for place settings, and I folded it into thirds, and I
Yes.
literally sewed it and cut a hole in the center and put a wipes case down it. And that's what I used. And everybody loved it. And so from there, I kind of rolled out different designs. I'm a designer at heart, creative for sure at heart. And I mean, kind of the rest is history. I ended up taking a diaper bag prototype with like maybe 5 different colorways to the largest juvenile trade show in Las Vegas called the ABC Kids Expo, and it ended up winning best diaper bag. I mean, everybody was coming to booth 211 to see this fashionable diaper bag that was both functional and stylish and dispensed wipes. So it was a hit. I mean, we got picked up by some pretty large big box retailers, Nordstrom being one of them, that was like something on a goal sheet probably 10 years down the road that ended up happening fairly quickly. And a lot of smaller boutiques as well, a lot of fan base, and it kind of all just took off after that.
Okay. So, I mean, are you manufacturing? I'm assuming in the beginning you're pumping these out yourself, right? And then you're like, this is not scale, and
Oh,
I'm very unhappy. It's 2 a.m. and I'm still doing it. Right? How do you do that exactly?
yeah. So Scott, that's a great question. I actually was sewing them on my kitchen table, like I said, and we took it to this show. And of course, I had prepared myself. You know, I had done the research. We showed up, right? We were like, make it before, fake it before you make it type of thing. So we really knew what we were doing as far as like taking purchase orders, but we had no idea what was about to happen. So I literally was running this thing on my kitchen table and in my basement, this company, this new LLC. And we basically like started to outsource. Honestly, domestically first, we started with manufacturers here in the States, and one first in New Jersey and then one in Chicago, because we used to live in Chicago. And we just kind of learned a lot from that, and started to source kind of all over. So now we work with like 7 different manufacturers worldwide, some domestic, some not. And yeah, I mean, that's how we do it.
So I mean, I would imagine the tariffs have probably not been awesome in terms of moving, products in the country. How have you dealt with that?
Yeah, okay. So I kind of dealt with a little bit of this during COVID, right? So our company was again, we were importing things but also staying here in the States. And so what I ended up doing is bringing things in small batch so that we could stay alive. And so small batch just means that I'm not bringing things in by sea freight. I'm flying them in and having a little bit more control over not only the time, the price, but also the quality of, our products. So I'm designing these products and then, putting it in the hands of people to create and make it for us and then bring it in. So yeah, the tariffs have been, getting back to your question, the tariffs have been a little bit interesting, but we've found ways because we technically don't have a finished product by the time it reaches us. We actually finish it here in the States inside our stores. So there's the difference. Like we actually are able to bring it in as an unfinished good and kind of bypass some loopholes there. So
Yeah, because everything's customized, right? You don't want to put it together anyway. You
yes,
need it
exactly.
the customer wise. That's
Yeah.
really smart. So I would imagine DHL was your best friend there for a minute there, right? Because that's
Oh,
typically the way you play things in
yeah.
bulk anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, DHL for sure. And now like what we do, because we do have more of the bag bars. So we were originally known for our patented diaper bags that dispense wet wipes, but over the years we've evolved into this customizable handbag and accessory brand, partially because a lot of our fans wanted to see handbags designed by me and they really wanted to customize it. This was back in 2018. And so I didn't have like a monogramming machine back then. So I started to charm the bags. And it just kind of created this new idea of the bag bar. And so I have now bag bars in our stores, and it's a fully customizable opportunity for people to come in, select a bag, select a strap, mix and match, add charms, monogram now. We do have monogramming machines. So yeah, they basically are finalizing the products here, in our stores.
Yeah, I was going through your products, and when I first however I found you, I have a feeling it's through my wife, but
Yeah.
I thought the kind of the product itself, I was thinking, well, this is probably pretty high end, and everything seems fairly affordable, right? It's not the $600 price tag of a Louis or whatever. It's all very valuable and useful and not like doesn't break the bank.
Yeah, exactly. So I want it to be obtainable, but I want it to be of high quality. So we are 100% vegan. We have zero plastics, like not like a pleather. A lot of pleather has that plastics. We're vegan, which just means that we don't have like the PVC, the BPA, any of that inside our bags. So it is the closest you can get to real leather without it actually harming animals. So we love it. And yeah, highest quality. But again, I've been doing this for what, 15 years. So I can actually navigate pretty well through finding quality materials at a great price.
That's glorious. Okay, so you have a storefront too, correct?
Yeah, so we have two. We opened our first storefront after about what, 15 years of being in business in Walloon Village.
Which is always typically it's the other way around, right? It's normally you start with a storefront and then you go, you did the other way around.
Yeah, other way around. We actually started completely opposite in so many ways. And it, I believe, worked to our benefit because I've evolved, right? So we were the diaper bag that dispenses wet wipes, and now we're at this huge, customizable opportunity for accessories. And I didn't have the customizable portion when I first started. And had I just opened a store, back when I first started the company, it would have been just selling diaper bags. And to be honest with you, I don't think I would have made it. We were heavily with larger retailers, which, doing drop ship partnerships and a lot of really wonderful retailers at the time. We did a lot of wholesale. We also did a lot of, I guess I would say, direct to consumer through our website. And now we are a complete flip flop. I mean, we have more people coming into our store than we do have shoppers online. It's pretty crazy. So we have a store in Walloon and then a store in Traverse City, Michigan.
So, I mean, what's the future, right? Is this a franchise? Is this 3 stores? Is this 5 stores? Is it, "No, no, no, we're just gonna go more, B2B, and they can kinda resell our stuff," or where do you see this in a year or 5?
Yeah. So kind of on the down low, but I'll just kind of spill the beans, but we are expanding for sure. We do want to, we have had so many requests for this, for people to open a store of their own, a Vilah Bloom store in their area, and or us bring it to them. So we're exploring our options, either ownership or franchise model right now. And yeah, there's some amazing things happening in the future here.
The hell did you do this? Like, wait, because typically, all the things you're talking about, right? It's you're either the craftsman, the business person, or you're rarely both, right? You seem to be both. You've got the kung fu, right? And you've also got you've got kind of everything. Like, what did you do before this?
Yeah, so I was actually in I worked in network television, ironically. I started in PBS Kids and at Lifetime Television. For PBS Kids, I would pull the educational benefits out of the programming, and then for Lifetime, I actually worked in as like sales executive. So I worked with Procter and Gamble and everything, and we worked on more of the marketing advertisement side of the network. And so really, I feel like I gained a lot of building blocks from where I started young as a professional working in networking. It was something that I thought I always was going to do. I thought I was going to be a broadcaster, to be honest with you. And it turns out that my heart is a little bit more geared towards entrepreneurship, and I am massively a creative. So, and really, I grew up in a household where like we really focused on being like very hardworking. My parents were entrepreneurs. They owned businesses. I think I was 9 or 10 when my twin brothers and I started a golf driving range, and it's still in business. So, the proof is in the pudding that like you put in the hard work, you stay dedicated, and you follow through with what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, I can tell you we had many hardships while growing this business. I mean, for sure, it's not easy. And I'm sure you've heard that from many entrepreneurs. It's just, I think people see surface level, right? They see, oh my gosh, how did you do this? But they don't see the behind the scenes, the road, the path that you took in order to get where you're at now. So
20-year overnight success. Like, oh,
yeah.
it's yeah, they just yeah, and it's so easy. Anybody can do it, right? So okay, so if you could go back, right, 10 years, or how many years have you been in business?
So almost 16. Yeah.
Okay, if you could go back 15 years, what would you have done differently? And also realize I've also heard this version of the story where you go to do a second business. Only the second business you've got a bunch of money and you end up overspending on a bunch of stuff you don't need, right? Because it was the scrappiness that made you work to begin with. So what would you have done if you could go back 15 years ago differently?
Yeah. So I think that I would have trust but validated a lot more, right? So like I trusted manufacturers here in the States that became unscrupulous. And thank goodness I had help finding out that, one of the manufacturers was going under, and they ended up stealing a lot of our money and a lot of our product. And I also would say that in manufacturing, because that's the biggest hiccup, it's forecasting this manufacturing. But back then, it was like our life savings, right? And we're plugging it into a company that we believed in Chicago, and it ended up being a pretty crazy situation. So if I could go back, I would have really kind of pumped the brakes and been like, you know what? Like, let's get some other quotes. Let's look around. Let's even look closer to home. There's a lot of cut and sew manufacturers closer to home. We had lived in Chicago, but we were back in Michigan at this point. And I really could have probably recruited some of my grandma's friends to even help me in the beginning. And I did have one that did help me for sure. But, just little things like that like you can look at local resources as your first stepping point. Other than that, though, I'll be honest, like all of the things that happened to me have made me who I am today. And I am a better leader for it. I really am. I feel like I've had a lot of experiences that have shaped me and have prepared me for what I'm supposed to be doing. So,
Calm waters make terrible captains.
totally. That's so true. Without the
It is.
turbulence, you know?
That's right. So okay, and then how okay, so you're the very beginning, you're on your dining room table, and presumably at some point in time you're like, I need to hire somebody, right? And it's always a friend, it's always someone you know. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
I'll bring in Susan and she can help me on the weekends or whatever.
totally.
When was your first like W-2 hire and how did that go exactly?
Yeah. So that is always just like the trickiest, right? Like you're getting overwhelmed. And luckily, I had my husband. He's a rock star. He's amazing. He's always helped me. But he's a principal, a school principal by day. And so, yeah, I recruited family first. I could hardly afford anyone because we were, trying to plug all of our money into having part of our production being manufactured and part of it being sewn on the table by us, right? So we were stretched thin at this point. So I recruited a lot of family members. My grandmas both could sew. And so I recruited them first, but then in terms of an actual hire, I really took the leap of faith of hiring somebody that could help me with like social media and organization and just kind of be there as a sidekick for me. And it changed my world. It was a stepping stone that was much needed. I couldn't fill these orders. We were doing everything in-house, everything from packaging and shipping to me designing and figuring out the logistics and getting things here. Scott, I remember this one time when I had my very first delivery at our home, and we're from northern Michigan, so it was snowing. I mean, it was like a nor'easter here in Michigan. The semi pulls up to our home because remember, it was in my basement.
Of course.
And
Yes. Right.
all my family goes out. So my twin brothers, Travis, my husband, my mom, and my kids. I have two daughters, Violet and Monroe, and they were young. And we are grabbing their sleds, their plastic sleds out of our garage and pulling it up to the semi, loading the boxes and taking it down because we couldn't lift it. The semi couldn't get down our driveway. So we were pulling, so these are the early years of the blood, sweat, and tears that you have to do to go through. But once you make that executive change, that take that leap of faith and start hiring people, it really does make such a difference. And what I thought that I had, like I was juggling all these balls and like I couldn't let them go, right? Like I couldn't let one drop. But delegating is key to success. I truly believe it's key to success. As a mom, and just, all the things that you have as a demand as a mom, on top of running a business and building quite a substantial business, you need the help and you have to recruit it and you got to let go. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about like inventory and where they have. I mean, that truck pulling up must have been. Now your neighbors love that, by the way. I
Yes.
mean, it is Michigan, but it's mostly pretty friendly for the most part. Like, oh, Jackie's crushing it. That's awesome, right? But it's still a bloody tractor trailer in your front yard. And
Yes.
now all the families pulling together to kind of pull things in, and it's
Yes.
snowing and all the things, right? And that's glorious. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, how many businesses that like these kind of like these multi-generational companies started out that way, right?
Yes.
It's where the whole family pulls in, make it happen, and here you go. So okay, so you get your first W-2. You don't even know if you can afford them. Is typically what happens. You're like, God, I think we're good, right?
I think we're
um,
okay. No.
I think we're okay. But that's the thing is you're like over inventoried away from disaster, or you're under inventoried away from disaster, or
Mhm.
COVID, or all the things along the way, right?
Yes, yes. No, that is so true. When we got the contract with Nordstrom, that was a pretty big deal, right? Like we're this company that started off just out of pure necessity for my own use. And then all of a sudden we get this contract and I'm just like, okay. But the cool thing about that particular contract was that I could small batch things in for them because they do things seasonally. And so I didn't have to kind of get this abundance of orders. You know what I mean? Like they do everything seasonally. So every 6 months, basically. And I had that time. And then, I also had I don't know, the advantage of kind of working with people like them. When I worked for Lifetime Television, I actually ran the Target account at, or I'm sorry, the Target and Nordstrom account at Lifetime. So I had these kind of insider ways of navigating without going over excessively into debt with product that may
Yeah,
or
but
may.
with Nordstrom, I bet it was like, no, no, no. We need 2,315 of these. We need
Yeah.
1,100 of those. So it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like, well, I don't know, it's Christmas is coming and we don't even know how many we need of these things. At least it's got like a defined amount.
Yes, that forecasting is the hardest right there. Just manufacture, and I don't think that ever goes away. I really don't. I think now with what we do, it's a little bit easier because we have this bag bar wall, right? And people can come in and they can kind of customize their own bag and make it their own. And one person comes in and picks a red bag but puts a black strap on it. The other person comes in and picks a red bag and puts a white strap on it. That's two different products right there, but the same product. So now we're kind of in this, I don't know, like I feel like we're just in this totally different business in a way from what I used to have to do.
Yeah, I know, but now it's like, Jesus, we need 300 blue straps. Like, I know it's a little bit different where you see what I'm saying though? It's not like we need this entirely put together thing. No, no, no. We need this color, this thing, this very specific item for whatever reason.
Yeah, Scott, I underplay it so much and I'm a victim of that for sure. But yeah, you know, it is a difficult thing to kind of figure out. And it's just years of doing it. And I feel like I have that advantage, I guess, from just figuring it out, learning the wrong way first, and now figuring out the right way. So
Yeah, I mean that's just I know you have to again calm seas, rough seas, etc. You have to kind of get your butt kicked a little bit to kind of understand how these things go. But
yeah.
it's interesting because you had your former life, right? Because there's
Yeah.
well we always say before kids after kids, but it's like before store after store, before
Yeah.
company after company, right?
Yes.
You probably had a pretty good. It sounds like you had a good training ground dealing with retail and such, but it wasn't like in a Nordstrom higher level kind of way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was lucky enough to kind of have that background a little bit, but it also was because I found it. It didn't just like appear, right? I mean, when I first started working for PBS Kids, it was an internship that for an entire year where I wasn't paid. So at the same time, I was also working for Anthropology, managing that store. And so, again, experience, and just learning how to deal with people, interact with customers, understand it at a totally different level than maybe just like coming in and being maybe a sales associate. Because now with what I do and, navigating and really kind of training my team, I was able to pull from those experiences, right? So,
Right.
yeah, it's an interesting thing how you start off some way and you wonder like, I wonder how this is going to play out in the future. And it all falls into place and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense now.
Yeah,
So,
I know, but there's also some point where you're basically just training, not your kind of your replacement or your process replacement, right? You're like, well, this is
yes,
how I do this, and this is how you're going to do this, and
yes,
and you just keep reproducing that over and over and over again, and now you're just managing humans. When before you were managing individual processes, it's
yes.
typically, and then it's a whole new skill set,
Oh,
right? It's a completely different
oh,
everything.
it totally is, and you know that too. It's just, you're managing people, but then you're also managing the product. I mean, because we don't just don't go and buy our product and bring it into the store. I mean, it is the Vilah Bloom brand. So every bag, necklace, everything is our brand. So it's kind of, it's a lot different than a typical just retailer, I would say. And I don't mean to say it that way, but like we're the manufacturer too. We're designing, manufacturing, bringing our brand in, and it's a big undertaking for sure.
Jackie Garrett, we're out of time. Thank you so much. This is great. It's interesting because they're kind of both the manufacturing side, the retail side, but you're also B2B, B2C. You're kind of all the businesses all at once, and it's very interesting.